Since 2015, the Golden State Warriors have dominated the NBA, winning 4 championships in 8 years and boosting a 513-game sellout. But let's rewind several years prior to their rise, and the team was a disaster. 14 losing seasons in 16 years, a roster that had not much talent and no high draft picks to save them. So how did the Warriors transform from a laughingstock to become a dynasty? The answer lies within one man, and that was Steve Kerr. Now, prior to Kerr's arrival, the Warriors were a team with promise but lacked consistency in the right leadership. The previous head coach was Mark Jackson, and his tenure was marked by tension and controversy, and that was specifically towards his relationship with team management. Among his many shortcomings were poor preparation, fostering distrust, and relying on a toxic version of the us versus them mentality to motivate players. He displayed a thirst for control, tolerating no dissent and insisting on complete authority, which bred dysfunction within his inner circle. Now, despite 2 consecutive playoff appearances, they were far from championship contenders. But unfortunately, it was his strained and icy relationship with management that led to his eventual dismissal. Nevertheless, Jackson was a better coach than those before him. The team was experiencing a 4-year playoff drought before Jackson took over. The first-year head coach wasn't able to steer his team into playoffs immediately. However, the Warriors, they showed remarkable progress by the second season. They jumped from 23 to 47 wins, then took another step forward the following year by winning 51. He was a promoter of defensive fundamentals, but it was not enough, and eventually he was let go. However, due to his popularity, this decision was risky for the management. The Warriors players supported Jackson, especially the support of the team's #1 player, Stephen Curry. And Curry expressed his loyalty and admiration for him during the game loss that ended up his dismissal. But Curry wasn't alone in standing by Jackson. Many other players like Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Andre Iguodala echoed similar sentiments. However, having a coach who commands such strong loyalty and buy-in from an NBA team is rare. When a management decided to part ways with a figure as beloved and respected as that, they tread a risky path. Not only that type of move set apart a star player of that team, but it also sends a message to potential free agents. Decisions may not always align with players' interests. Just imagine the level of pressure the next coach they bring on would be subject to. That's the scenario Steve Kerr faced and when he took the reins of the Golden State Warriors in 2014, and boy did he rise to the occasion. Now, to say Kerr found immediate success as a professional basketball coach would be an understatement. In his first season with the Golden State Warriors, the team stormed out to a 19-2 record, including an impressive 14-game winning streak. By the All-Star break, the Warriors held the best record in the Western Conference, earning Kerr the honor of coaching the conference team in the 2015 All-Star Game. Although he finished as the runner-up for Coach of the Year, Kerr's first season culminated in the ultimate prize. The Warriors claimed the championship, marking a historic start to his coaching career. Now, to make things even more impressive is that Steve Kerr did not have any background within his coaching career. He did have some experience within front office back in 2007 when he was the general manager for the Phoenix Suns, but outside of that, he was primarily a TV commentary outside of his playing career. And following that run, he had an opportunity to be the head coach for the Warriors and took advantage of it. And following his first year, since then, Kerr has added 3 more titles to his collection, including one in 2022. Clearly, Steve Kerr is onto something. Only Phil Jackson boasts a better championship record than Kerr's 4th title in 8 years with 11 titles in 20 seasons. Even Red Auerbach, widely considered one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time, had won 9 championships during his 20 seasons with the Boston Celtics. So what's Kerr's secret? How has he managed to consistently bring out the best in his players and build a dynasty in such a competitive league? First and foremost, it's not the players. Of course, no coach wins championships without great players, and that includes Steve Kerr. Phil Jackson had the privilege of coaching 2 of the greatest ever, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, and a couple more legends including Scottie Pippen and Shaquille O'Neal. Similarly, Red Auerbach had his share of icons, perhaps most notably Bill Russell. But having great players doesn't guarantee championships. And history is filled with all-time greats like Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, and Patrick Ewing, who had never won a ring despite their talent and relentless efforts. Coaches have to do the most to maximize their superstars' potential while building a team of role players willing to sacrifice personal accolades, check their egos at the door, accept fewer touches on the ball, and receive less credit than they might as leaders of other teams, all in the service of team success around them. For players like Barkley, Malone, and Ewing, and even current future Hall of Famers that have yet to win a title, including Russell Westbrook and James Harden, their coaches were unable to strike this balance effectively enough to secure a championship. Now, it seems that Steve Kerr's secret lies in his remarkable emotional intelligence. While some coaches are infamous for their fiery outbursts, whether it's directed at players, assistants, referees, or even the fans, Kerr has built a reputation for his calm and composed demeanor. Now, that's not to say that he has never got heated. Even the coolest heads can crack under the immense pressure of coaching millionaire superstars with big personalities in front of tens of thousands of fans, with entire playoff series and seasons hanging in the balance. But his success with the Warriors isn't all due to his emotional intelligence. Before becoming head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Kerr had been keeping a close eye on the team for years, with his source of fascination being Stephen Curry. Back in 2009, when Kerr was the general manager of the Phoenix Suns, he admitted to trying to trade up in the NBA draft to snag Curry. The Suns saw Curry as a player with a playmaking and shooting ability reminiscent of Steve Kerr, their superstar at the time. Though the trade didn't materialize, Kerr never forget about the Davidson standout. Now, fast forward to 2012, Steve Kerr started preparing seriously for his decision to become a coach. While working as a broadcaster for TNT, Kerr attended a sports leadership conference at the Aspen Institute in Colorado. There, he had a conversation with Jeff Van Gundy, a coach he deeply admired. Van Gundy gave him straightforward but invaluable advice. Write everything down, everything you've learned, everything you wanted to do, everything you change. It will organize your thoughts and develop your philosophy. Taking this advice to heart, Kerr opened a Word document on his laptop and started building his coaching blueprint. Kerr's document was comprehensive, encompassing offensive and defensive strategies as well as team culture details. In addition to jotting down ideas, Kerr began collecting plays. Back at home in San Diego, he would pause games on his flat-screen TV whenever he saw an action he liked, whether it was a clever backdoor lob off an inbounds pass or an effective flare screen. This blueprint, together with the demonstration of his decision to bring in more brilliant minds once he got hired for the Warriors. And Steve did just that. He brought in great minds like Alvin Gentry and Ron Adams. Coupled with gaining the trust and support of one of the superstar players and his subject of fascination, Stephen Curry, the pieces just fell into place for Kerr, and it did not take him long to mold them into a smooth-running machine. The team already had a formidable defense. However, it was their offense that needed transformation. Under previous coach Mark Jackson, the Warriors rely heavily on ISO and pick-and-roll plays, a throwback to classic NBA basketball of the 80s and 90s. This style of offense left the team last in the league in passes per possession. Kerr brought a completely different approach. Rather than mimicking a single mentor, as many first-time coaches do, he leveraged insights from multiple Hall of Fame mentors and enlisted Alvin Gentry, a respected offensive mind, to co-create what Gentry called a melting pot offense. This new system borrowed elements from the best strategies in basketball history, such as Phil Jackson's triangle offense, the drag screens, and the sideline tilts favored by Mike D'Antoni of the Phoenix Suns, the low post splits from the old Jerry Sloan Utah handbook, and most prominently, the motion offense and loop series of Popovich's late generation Spurs. The results? An offensive system where the mantra is simple: no standing still. The philosophy revolves around ball movement and pupil movement, as Gentry would describe it. The big man would engage in dribble handoffs, shooters are in constant motion, and every player gets a chance to touch the ball. The overhaul wasn't without its challenges. When Kerr and Gentry introduced the offense during training camp and the summer league, the results were inconsistent. While the passing and cutting created beautiful sequences, they also produced a lot of turnovers, 22 per game in the first 7 regular season contests. Kerr, who values ball movement, defense, and minimizing mistakes, found this difficult to watch. However, he recognized that he overloaded the team with too many plays, and he simplified the offense to focus on 4 or 5 core sequences. The simplification paid off. The Warriors went from last in passes per game in 2014 to 11th the next season. They led the league in assists and hockey assists while reducing the turnovers from 22 to 15 per game. Kerr's offensive system created opportunities for everyone on the roster. As a reserve guard, Justin Holiday put it, everyone gets a taste. And 2 players stood out. Harrison Barnes, who was a cutter and kick-out threat, now shoots over 50% from the field and makes 43% from his threes. And Mo Spates, initially viewed as a liability due to his defense, Spates became a valuable bench contributor. And with Kerr's will to work with him rather than writing him off, showed his ability to adapt and ability to unlock hidden potential in players. Kerr also took this a step further by making changes to the starting lineup, inserting Barnes over All-Star Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green for another All-Star David Lee in his first season. Now, both moves were considered unpopular among fans and media at the time, but those changes seemingly made the Warriors go from an afterthought to the best team in the league. But Kerr had plenty of in-game adjustments. One of the most famous was that of Game 4 of the 2015 NBA Finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers. At that time, the Warriors, who had exceeded expectations all season, they had appeared to be hitting their ceiling. That's when Kerr made a bold move. Inspired by a suggestion from his assistant coach Nick Uhrman, he abandoned the traditional 1-5 lineup and inserted Iguodala into the starting lineup. Barnes moved to the 4, and Green was tasked to be the starting 5. And offensively, it spread the floor with the 5 playmakers, allowing Curry and Thompson to operate as off-ball threats. The move was widely criticized, but this small ball unit created matchup nightmares for the Cavaliers and gave birth to what would become one of the most feared lineups in NBA history, the Death Lineup. So far, the players are appreciative of Kerr's approach. Harrison Barnes credits him for empowering the players, while Draymond Green appreciated the open dialogue they shared. And the Warriors dynasty may be defined by the greatness of players like Steph Curry, but it all began with the vision and leadership of a coach who dared to think differently. And Steve Kerr wasn't just a head coach. He was the architect of a golden era in basketball history. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more of it.